right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Another Bourbon Show. Tonight, we're going to be drinking another bottle provided by Ryan. And I've not tried it yet. I've never had it before. So I'm really looking forward to this one. But tonight, we're going to be drinking the Jack Daniel's Bonded. Right there. There it is. So before we do anything, let's go right to Steven. Let's go right to Steven for the label review.
So I think Jack Daniel's actually kind of maybe the word is like they undersell their special releases a little bit, because I think that Jack Daniel's has a pretty iconic, they're pretty good with their regular line. I think I said like the regular Jack Daniel's bottle was like a 5.0, like exact. It's almost the measure with which you judge all of their labels, and just in terms of its iconicness, its recognizableness. And I think that they do a good job of differentiating between, like the different regular Jack, like Jack Honey and stuff like that. They look good on the shelf next to one another, but whenever there's a slightly special release or a slightly like a new release, perhaps like this, I just think it doesn't differentiate itself enough. One of the only ones that comes to mind is like, unless you start to get into some like the barrel proof stuff, I think they do a pretty good job with that. But I think a lot of the stuff ends up looking pretty similar and pretty bland, and just undersells how good the juice is or how limited the release is. But one of the examples I can think of is like the Sinatra bottle that you brought up before, Ryan. That one is a pretty cool presentation. A lot of times I feel like, and this goes along with that, is that it's kind of lacking to me. It seems like almost like I don't want to say a knockoff, but it seems almost like a cheaper version of the Old Number 7, which is not what it should be, right? And I don't know exactly what that is, but it looks like, the bottle shape is there. The glass on the front is cool, but there's something about the label, and maybe the fact that it doesn't wrap all the way around, or there's nothing on the back. I don't know what it is, but
there is actually stuff on the back.
There's stuff on the back in the glass, which I think the glass is decent. But there's
I think I don't think it goes all the way around, because there's actually a pretty big presentation on the back in the glass.
Yeah. So, I mean, which is good on its own. I get that they've done something unique with the glass, but because that label is what it is, I feel like it's a little lacking there. So I'm actually going to give this one another 5, which when you think about it is kind of a knock, because that's what I gave the regular label. So you would expect more from a slightly smaller release. I don't know exactly what you want to call it, but whatever you would call this new line that they're coming out with, I think it's undersold a little bit. I do like the triple mash one a little bit better, because I like the color a little bit more, but I think that one's also kind of bland, if that makes sense. So that's my overall opinion. I think that a lot of people, if they weren't looking for this bottle when it came out, or they didn't hear about it when it came out, I think it's fairly easy to miss in the shuffle. So.
Okay. So a 5.
A 5.
Okay.
And this is a 1 liter. So when I got this,
okay.
I don't think the 700s were, for whatever reason, the samples they passed out wherever I was when I got them were 1 liters, which is cool. I mean, one of the things we talked about in the past is a lot of bottles going towards the 700 ml when quantities are a little lower with the liquid. So yeah, but this is obviously for a bar restaurant usually, and then you'll see retail with the 700 mLs.
All right. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with the 5. I don't think it's anything special. I could see somebody arguing with like the Old Number 7, saying that that it's deserves to be higher because it's so fucking iconic.
I feel like if you had the bottle in person, Steven, you would like it a lot more.
I've seen the bottle in person.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Like, I really like the stem right here. I mean, this looks really cool.
And I like that
on
stuff
the glass
too,
is cool. Yeah.
But I feel like I've seen that in bottles before. Maybe I'm just jaded in that way, but it's not, I'd be proud of it if I made it. You know what I mean? But whenever I'm looking at it as opposed to everything else on the shelf, that's what I'm comparing it to.
It looks old-timey to me, for sure.
Yeah.
It's got an antique type look to it.
Has got the top of like a decanter, which looks cool. That I haven't seen a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, so 5.0.
I do like the glass. A lot of the glass on it. I do like that.
Yeah. It looks heavy. I'll say that. It looks like it's a heavy bottle.
It is. But that is the 1 liter as well. So going to be a little heavier in general.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About how much heavier?
So
Well, when they proof it up, though, it gains weight as well.
Okay, dude. All right,
Yeah.
dude. I'm fucking walking up.
Hey, speaking of proofing up, this is a proofed up version of Jack Daniels. This is bonded, so
Yep.
so we know automatically that it's 100 proof. We know automatically it's not age stated, but it's bonded, so it's got to be aged at least 4 years. Those are two things we know 100%. But we also know that it's the same mash bill as regular Jack Daniels Old Number 7. And that mash bill is 80% corn, 12% malted barley, and 8% rye. You said that this is a 1 liter bottle.
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, in case you didn't know, Ryan did mention it already, but we'll specify again. The standard bottle you're going to find in a store is 700 milliliters, not 750. But that's becoming more and more common, like Ryan also mentioned. So there's that.
Yeah. You'll usually find it like $35-$40.
Okay.
Depending where you go. Yeah. It's usually the price for it.
When it first came out last year, it was really hard to find. I'm finding it much, much easier to find on shelves at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty much available everywhere now. And they have the inventory to keep up with the demand.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to share about the whiskey itself?
I think that's about it. It's a big, bold Tennessee whiskey with layered notes of caramel, rich oak, and spice. I'm sure it'll smell like bananas, though. So
Guaranteed to smell like bananas. Well, let's
try
find out.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey,
Well,
you know what? It smells like banana.
it does. Smells-
Unmistakable Jack Daniels smell.
And I would also say, as I always do with that banana smell, also could be construed as bubblegum.
Yeah.
I think a lot of time.
Yep.
Very similar on the nose.
It's, to me, it's got that classic Jack Daniels nose. To me, this is an unmistakable Jack Daniels product just from the nose. It seems
It's like fresh banana, man.
Yep.
it's
it smells good.
all of the nose is more impactful than the Old Number 7 80 proof version. So like that 20 extra proof, 10% alcohol, it's definitely noticeable in the nose.
And I get some caramel, some nutmeg, maybe some like touch of spice on the end.
Yep.
Oak. I get like I definitely smell oak too.
A little clove.
Unsurprisingly.
A little clove on that too. Well, I mean, that's
All right.
the banana.
I'm drinking.
All right, dude.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Oh fuck, that's good.
Heck's a punch for 100. Feels a little stronger than that.
This is very sweet. Yeah, imagine a proofed up version of Old Number 7. And that's what we have here.
Yeah. They proofed it up.
I'm just pissed that I said that first, and because now you're always saying it under the guise of making fun of me, but it's actually just a fucking good thing to say.
No, it's not. It's
If I
every
didn't say
time
it, somebody else would have, and they would have been like, "Man, that's fucking smart, dude."
No.
Trailblazing almost, you know?
I didn't want to say it.
But yeah, so like this is getting you get all of the standard flavors of Old Number 7, but much more intense.
Yeah.
I get a hug, but I don't get like a. It's not rough at any point. It's easy to drink. It's smooth. It is very enjoyable.
I think the caramel and oak is more pronounced in this than the banana necessarily is. I think the banana is definitely there, but I get about the same amount of banana that I do in the regular Jack, to be honest, on the palate. But I get way more of the oak and caramel.
So
I do too.
with you specifying on the palate, I agree. On the nose, I get way more banana.
Yeah. Same.
Way more. But on the palate, yeah, the banana is not quite as strong.
It is
Caramel,
sweet, man.
maple, it is.
Sugary a little bit.
Which I don't feel is the case at all. And well, a little bit, but not much at all on the regular Old Number 7. I feel like it's pretty balanced on the regular Old Number 7. This one is definitely, I would say, like a dessert type whiskey. Really similar to Short Stack, actually, in that way, where it's like, I think it was Short Stack. There was something, maybe it was the Ambiorana Oak and Eden. Ryan, you were talking about how it was like, I'd have a glass of this, and that would probably be it, because it would upset my stomach, or I'd feel like it was turning my stomach.
That was the Oak and Eden, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of feel that way with this a little bit.
You mentioned the Short Stack, how sweet this is. You would have expected the Short Stack to be sweet like this, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah, this is...
It's got a long finish.
It does. Like Ryan said, it really packs a punch for 100 proof. And yeah, it's exactly what I would have expected, I think. Pretty much. And exactly what I would have wanted.
There's like a at the like I haven't had a sip in a couple minutes now, and like there's an interesting balance between pepperiness in like the back of my throat with sweetness in the top of my throat.
Yep.
Like it's really, really interesting that I'm getting like pepper here and like sweet here. Interesting.
It's making me feel like I have to burp.
Yeah.
It's like I just drank
Same.
a Coke or something. It's
Yeah.
weird.
100% the same.
It's like, I definitely get what you're
Just
saying with it. When you initially drink it, very banana-y, and then it gets very peppery on the back, and then kind of stays that entire way the whole way down.
Yeah, weird. This may be a stupid question. Has Jack Daniels released something like this before? Or did it take them this long to do a bonded?
Since
as far
I've
as I
been,
know,
yeah,
this
since
is
I've
it.
been involved, yeah.
I'm kind of shocked
That's
by
awesome.
that, to be honest.
Hey, how long's it been since y'all took a sip?
I just took one like 20 seconds ago.
Probably like a maybe close to 2 minutes, 10 minutes, something.
Okay, Steven, give it another like 2 minutes, then take a sip.
I get a lot of banana in my mouth right now, by the way.
Yeah.
Like now that it's been about 2 minutes, there's like, it's like, you know, a minute ago or 2 minutes ago, I had a piece of banana bread or something. Should I take a drink now, or how long do you want me to wait?
Now keep waiting. Ryan, I'm gonna send you a chat.
Okay.
I want to see if he says the same, if he notices the same thing. Just give it another minute, okay?
And just do like 9:05, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Oh, hello.
9:04 now.
Yeah, I know.
How's Nala?
She's real good. She just got a haircut the other day, and she is feeling her Cheerios now. She has just been hyper as hell. I don't know why. Like, I guess just because she gets uncomfortable and like too hot whenever her fur gets long. Whenever you cut her hair, she just gets a new wind, and she's just been running all over the house and
Gets the zoomies.
yep, staying up late, all that jazz. But also more cuddly. when she does settle down. Yeah.
It's a nice cat.
Yeah, she's super chill. Her bad habit though is she will just, if she's out of water in the other room, she will immediately go into survival mode. She'll just help herself to some of your water. She'll just stick her head into your cup.
See, all three of our cats, if you leave water out, they do a dip, dip, dip.
Yep.
Dip, dip, dip.
She will do that too, but she knows now that it'll like knock the cup over, which she's done sometimes. So most of the time she'll just put her whole head in and drink, and she'll come out with like a full mouth that's all wet, you know? It's so funny. But Jesse's like, don't let her do that. That's terrible. And I mean, I'm not letting her do it, but I'm just like, she's in survival mode. She's got 5 minutes without water.
All right, dude, 9:05.
All right, here we go.
Anything interesting?
I feel like you get more brown sugar on it.
Oh, see, and I just did it again for myself. I took a long break
you know what?
again.
Let me say, a little more artificial banana, more like a Runts banana that time.
That's not what I was going for.
Okay. Sorry to disappoint you.
No, that's okay. That's okay, because every whiskey's different. Every palate's different.
I may still agree with whatever you're about to say. It's just not something that immediately hit me.
See, this is what should hit. Like, if it was the same for me as you, it would be very noticeable. After a long break, long pause, going back to it, the first sip, I get pure pepper.
Oh,
straight up, really, really, really pepper.
That was like
Okay.
chicken your face peppery.
Pepper, yes.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get, well, I didn't get it noticeably more than I did from like my first sip or whatever. To me,
Oh, see, I did.
to me, it just felt intensely more artificial banana-y, and then a little bit of brown sugar that I didn't pick up before.
Mine was
And-
very peppery.
For me, like the first sip, I didn't get like any pepper, like at all. It wasn't until I had that finish that I mentioned. But
It's
now,
really good though. That's what I'm getting.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You were
And I
pumped
just-
to try this, Steven. You're like, we gotta do Jack Bonded.
Yeah, I mean, I like trying all of Jack's stuff. I think that I don't know that I've ever tried a Jack Daniel's product that I just straight up didn't like. That I disliked. I mean, there's some that I like more than others, of course, but almost all of them, I'll walk away and be like, I would buy a bottle of that, especially for the price point too. It's not like most of the time you're saying that's a $70 bottle or something. It was like, oh, I really enjoyed that. Like, yeah, I'll pick that up at some point.
I completely agree with you, Stephen. Jack Daniel's makes a great product, and I think that there are, like, within the bourbon community, there are some Jack Daniel's haters. They're like, oh, I can't stand it. You lying piece of shit. You are so full of shit. It might not be your favorite. You might not like it more than, I don't know, pick your mid-tier $30 bottle. You might not like it more than Elijah Craig. You might not like it more than Buffalo Trace. But to say that you don't like it, that it's bad whiskey, you are so full of shit.
Yeah. And I have such an affinity for Jack Daniel's because, and obviously you guys know this, but like it's the roots of what I like bourbon because I like Jack Daniel's. I know Jack Daniel's isn't bourbon, but my point still stands where it's like when you're trying out different spirits and stuff when you're younger, Jack Daniel's was one I tried and I was like, oh, that is my line. That's what I like to drink, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's so much I could say that's like good about the bottle and good about the juice, and it was just always readily available, cheap as hell. I could buy it in any size I wanted to.
Yep.
And I don't mean for this to sound sad, but you just take comfort in the bottle. You know what I mean? When I say that, it's like Jack Daniel's has always been there. You know what I mean? On the toughest times or just like nice Friday nights or whatever, relaxing, I associate Jack Daniel's with a lot of good times. And yeah, so I'll just always like Jack Daniels, I think, and I'm always interested in trying something new that they have. And when they came out with these two, I was like, I really was super curious what both of those would taste like, the bonded and the triple mash. So I still haven't had either one up until tonight. So yeah, I've been excited to try them.
I'll get my hands on a triple match too. We'll do it sometime soon.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Be nice to compare. It would have been cool to have like a side by side, but
yeah,
I don't think it's necessary though, right? Yeah, no? I don't think it's necessary. They're not supposed to be competing with each other. They're two totally different avenues. So like it would be cool to do them side by side, but we don't need to either, right? Like I don't see any benefit to doing them side by side. There's other things like next time I provide bottles, we're doing a couple of blinds, and they are ones that there's a benefit to doing them blind, to seeing how one compares to the other one. But that's not always the case, right? And I feel like if we were doing triple mash at the same time, same episode as bonded, we would automatically go into a route of I prefer this one over that one. This one's better than that one. And that's not what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're gonna gravitate towards one or the other, but there's no need to like vocalize I prefer this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So man, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. No,
you're gonna give it a 10.0, dude. You're giving it a 10.0, dude.
I'm not gonna give it a 10.
He's giving it a 10.0.
I'm not giving it a 10.
It's a
no way. It's
another Bourbon Show exclusive. Your first 10.0.
You know,
I think I've given it 10, haven't I? Bomb burgers?
We didn't do bomb burgers, did we? Or it was unofficial, I think, because we had it as part of something else. We might have tried bomb burgers, but I don't think it was a bomb burgers episode. I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
Actually, I think we did do bomb burgers episode.
Or was it Shanks?
Shanks was not a 10 for Dan, but it was real high.
Yeah. Shanks was really high. Deserves to be really high.
You know, another thing I like about Jack Daniels, though, another thing that goes back to what I was saying a moment ago is I just find it's great for every occasion, too. You know, I don't know necessarily this one, although I can imagine it being very similar. But it was one of the first drinks, Old Number 7 was. It's one of the first drinks that I was like, oh, I would sip this and mix it with stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Jack and Coke was obviously like a lot of people probably have Jack Daniels for the first time in a Coke, but at some point you just end up trying it, even if that's like all you have it with. If you just have the bottle on your shelf, eventually you give it a sip. But I think more people than not will go, if you like drinking straight alcohol at all, I think most people will be like, that's really good. And they'll start drinking that, or maybe with ice or whatever. But it's just so, again, it's cheap as hell. It's available in any size. You can have it in any scenario. That's the kind of stuff we need to, if you're bashing something like that, you got to take a hard look in the mirror, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and that you look at them too. I mean, like all the honeys in the whiskey category, Jack's probably the best one. You know,
we tested this.
Yeah.
You know, it's at least right up there.
Yeah. I mean, their apple, if that's what you're into, is good. You know, that's a good one. The Fire, though, I do prefer Fireball over Jack Fire, but Jack Fire in the suburbs of Chicago, it flies, man. Yeah. At all the suburb bars out here, people love it. So they have something for everybody.
And that's what's funny about that is that's probably to speak of like the Jack name more than anything. Like if it was Fireball versus Steve's Fire or what, you know what I mean? Like any other thing, like it's Jack's version of a Fireball whiskey. And so I think it just speaks to the brand affinity people have.
Okay, now can we rate it?
Let's do it.
No. Just kidding.
8-2. 8-2. There you go.
No, let's do it. Let's get a clean take, Dan.
8-2. There you go.
Do a clean take from the start. We're asking us if we want to rate it and all that jazz. So cut in.
Fuck. All right, fine. So goddamn stupid. All right, guys. Hey,
hold on. I want an apology first now, because it's not stupid. I'm making a production here.
Okay, so guys, are you ready to rate this? Because you're not getting a fucking apology, you son of a bitch. You could have died in a tornado 2 weeks ago, and I saved your life, Steven.
I thank you for that.
Are we ready to rate it?
Pleasure to meet you.
Yes.
8-2. There you
Pleasure. It's a pleasure to meet you.
go.
Why is it an 8-2, Dan? What's the reasoning?
It's really good. It's no, yeah. So it's an 8-2 for me. Honestly, it's an 8-2. I find it interesting. It's just packed with flavor. It's got a lot of sweetness to it. It's got a interesting spiciness that like holds it down. It's complex yet balanced. It's 35 or $40, Ryan said. Is that right?
Yep.
It is now easy to acquire. The one weakness that old number 7 has, in my opinion, is that it's weak, right? Like that's its weakness, is that it's 80 proof. And it goes great with Coke. You can sip it all day long or night long. You can do shots with it. But you can't use it in a Manhattan or an old fashioned or a whiskey sour or any of those more complex drinks that need something that gives it a base in whiskey. This you can, but you can still sip it. I would imagine it's still really good in a whiskey Coke. So it's more complex. It's got more flavors. It's more versatile. For what? $5 or $10 more per bottle?
Yeah, like 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 15 more.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Not bad.
To me, it's an 8-2. It's a solid fucking pour.
Yeah, as soon as I drank this, I was...
The one thing that I'm knocking it for is that I would not want to have 4 or 5 pours of it in a night. I wouldn't want to necessarily have 3. I could see having 2 pours of it in the same night, but then I would want to move on.
Which how big of a detriment is that really? I mean, how many?
It's not.
How many
It's
bottles? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, which is the reason it's still a fucking 8-2. So 8-2. That's my answer. Final answer.
I'm right there with you, Dan. As soon as I had, I'm like, I think this is an 8-3. So I'm going to stay with my 8-3 rating.
That's my score too, by the way.
That's yeah. So we're all kind of in the same wheelhouse. I think it does everything that Jack does well, and then, with the 100 proof bottled and bond. I mean, all the good things that Jack does, this sort of puts it on a higher pedestal, right? Got all those classical Jack Daniels notes that we talked about earlier, specifically the banana. You get that on the nose heavily. It's heavily banana. And then you try it and you get a lot of banana at first, and then it just kicks you in the mouth with pepper. And you don't really get that with the old number 7. All that spice. I mean, only 8% rye. Feels like it's a little bit more than that, but yeah, I really like this. I feel like it'd be really good in a cocktail. The sweetness and the peppery, it's usually it's only like one or the other, but you get all that banana and then it evens out, and then you wait 3 or 4 minutes to have a sip, and that pepper, it's almost kind of refreshing in a way. You're like, oh man, I'm getting a whole different side of this whiskey that I didn't even know that was there. So if you guys do get this, have a few sips, wait a few minutes, and then try it again, because you'll get a whole different product. But yeah, I'm going 8-3.
Yeah, I same score as Ryan. I right off the bat was kind of like, this tastes like an 8-3 to me, basically. I think we've all kind of developed a pretty good sense of that now, where it falls for us after we have a couple sips, based on other things that we've kind of rated. I will say that, obviously we're all in agreement here. We all think it's really good. And I echo everything you guys have said, but I do wonder and kind of worry about how much of a market this is going to be able to find, because I do think that $15 more is kind of a substantial step up. And at that point, there is a lot more available. And like I said before, we're spoiled with choice now. And I do worry that this could get lost somewhat on the shelves. I don't really know. So I'm curious, as the years go by, if this is still will still stick around, and I hope that it does because I think it's really good. But there's just a lot out there. There's a lot of market saturation. There's even saturation from Jack Daniels themselves. So maybe something will have to give. It's still amazing to me that they've gone this long without doing like just Jack Daniels Bonded, just a higher proof version of Old Number 7 that everybody loves. And my guess is there was a reason why they didn't want to compete with themselves or something to that nature. So we'll see if it stands the test of time like Old Number 7 has. But I mean, this to me tastes and seems like it could be another staple at every bar, restaurant across America.
I think what Brown-Forman, what Jack Daniels really wanted to do was, because obviously with the single barrel series, right? Which that color is very similar to the triple mash color bottle. But I think they wanted something to split that price threshold, right? Because the single barrels range, where are they, like $60-$70 now, right? Jack, depending on where you go to a major retailer, you could buy for $19.99. A standard place like Dean's probably runs $24.99. So they wanted something sort of in that $35-$40 range to split the difference to that consumer that does buy $30 to $40 bottles of whiskey. It's a huge segment of the whiskey category, right? And Jack really didn't have that. They did with Woodford Reserve, but nothing under the Jack Daniels name. So I think that was their mindset of the $35 to $40 price range of this guy.
Yeah. It's interesting that when I'm thinking about this bottle and I'm like, I would totally get this as opposed to Old Number 7 if it was between those two. Not that I don't like Old Number 7. Obviously, we talked about it. I do. But would I get this one in relation to like Elijah Craig Small Batch for a little bit less even for Elijah Craig Small Batch potentially? And I don't know. It becomes closer. There's like situations where I'm like, I'd like to have both on my shelf personally, but if I'm just between those two, it does, and that's just one example, right, of one that I like. But it's a competitive space, maybe not within Jack Daniels, so they can justify it, but it's competitive space overall.
So that's one of the things that I was thinking about throughout, and I prefer this over Elijah Craig Small Batch. However, if I only had space for one of those two on my shelf, it would wholly depend on my mood at the time I was buying, which I would go with, because they are very different. But yeah, it just depends on my mood when I was making that purchase, which I would go with. So I could imagine it being like 2 times in a row I'd buy Jack Bonded, and then the next time would be Elijah Craig Small Batch, and then it would flip flop back and forth, and it would end up being a coin flip, which I would purchase at the time. I think that a more similar comparison really is Wild Turkey 101, right, which is $20 cheaper ish, give or take. But that, to me, Wild Turkey bats way above its price, way ridiculously above its price. And this is the only thing that's like comparable to, and Wild Turkey 101 is $20 cheaper, right? Like, but this is more similar to Wild Turkey 101 than it is Elijah Craig. Certainly more so than Buffalo Trace. Certainly more so than any of your other like flagship brands.
Another bourbon show.